everybody. Rob and Morgan back with you, and we are talking WaveLight technology. For people who don't know what it is, it's those lights you see on the side of the track that let the racers and, let's face it, the fans obviously know different paces, world record pace. If they're on pace, it gives them, something to look at throughout the race, so they're not checking their times every time they go to a checkpoint. It's amazing. Some people love it. Some people absolutely hate it. They think it's an unfair advantage to these racers that racers of the past didn't have. What side of the fence are you falling on?
If today's racers were racing against racers of the past, okay, if Haile Gebrselassie came back and said, I'm gonna run a 10K with no WaveLight, but Cheptegei, you get a WaveLight, then it's unfair, but they're not racing against the racers of the past.
Are they not though? A world record, isn't that like you're racing against someone in the past?
Yes, except that they're like the technological advances you always have to take into account. And again, we've discussed this a lot. The tracks are bouncier, and so are the shoes. And especially with this recent wave of what people are calling super shoes, you've seen a lot of distance running world records, the women's hurdles world record, although the women's hurdles world record, I think, also might have been a function of a malfunctioning clock. Point is, the shoes are always gonna improve. And so it's tough to draw the line, but one of the differences between track running and say road racing. Road racing, you can run out front even without pacemakers, but you always have, like in a big high profile marathon, there's the person on the motorcycle, there's the person recording you in a truck, and they're sort of setting the pace. They're not gonna go slower than you wanna go. They have to calibrate their speed to your speed, and they wind up sort of setting the pace for you. And so the WaveLight sort of does the same thing, especially in a race where you've decided you're gonna try for a world record, but to hit a world record in a distance event, like a lot of things gotta line up.
This is one of those ones where I kind of compare it to like the first down marker in football.
Yes.
Like, it's great for the fans. Don't get me wrong. I think the fans love seeing, oh, look at that. He or she is on a record pace. He or she could break the record. They don't necessarily, it doesn't always compute to a world record because racers have, their ups and downs throughout a race. But sports are so psychological. You might be running at a pace that you think is a good pace, but suddenly you look at that light and you've got to pick up the pace. You're gonna do it. That's just something that past athletes didn't have.
Yes, you have to, you're gonna do it, but you also still have to be good enough to do it. Like, I think this is where we differ, because I enjoy the fact that it sort of lifts the psychological burden from the athlete and lets them see what's possible physically. Because the reality is too, that it really doesn't matter. If we're talking world records, setting lights to world record pace, it only matters if you are that good already. Because the lights aren't necessarily gonna make 30 seconds of difference. Maybe it makes 1 second of difference. But when you look at Faith Kipyegon run that world record, there's that point at the beginning of the last lap, the lights get ahead of her, and you hear the announcers start talking about her record attempt in the past tense like it's not gonna happen.
And the world record starts to look a massive task. It isn't gonna be a world record, but Faith Kipyegon will become the second fastest, perhaps. It's gonna be very, very close.
And in the last 200 meters, she cranked it up, and she got well ahead of the lights, and she broke the world record. So the lights don't really take into account like what the human is gonna do. They just kind of set some parameters that you can work within. And again, but you have to be that good in the first place, because for even the second tier elite, it's not gonna matter. Even for the other racers, because there's only, in the 5,000 where you saw Faith Kipyegon, there are only 2 people that were anywhere near the light. So it's not like this makes everyone faster or it's an unfair advantage. It's not like, as we discussed offline, someone came up to Faith Kipyegon, gave her a shot of fentanyl halfway through the race so she would not feel any pain and she could just blaze the last lap without paying the price. This was just a light that she used as a guideline. It's sort of like having a pacemaker through most of the race instead of just half the race.
I would have thought lights would cause so much discussion and controversy, but Morgan wants the lights on, me, lights off type of guy. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Okay, that's the end of the video, but you're not at the finish line yet because we've got plenty more content. And if you want to see it, subscribe to the channel and just look at all the videos you can watch. Morgan and myself talking track.